Marketecture is brought to you by Pontiac Intelligence. Pontiac Intelligence is a demand-side platform designed for running high-quality CTV campaigns. With its proprietary bidder and a focus on privacy-safe era, Pontiac brings clear and powerful differentiation from the crowded DSP space. Transparent, low-tech fees, accurate forecasting, and the ability to manage thousands of simultaneous campaigns with ease. See a demo and learn more at pontiac.media. That's pontiac.media. Welcome to the Marketecture podcast. I'm Ari Paparo. We have an exciting episode today. We have Eric Franchi, our usual co-host, along with Adam Heimlich from Chalice.ai. Before we get started, I want to talk about our new Justify Your Existence segment. So today we have BonBon, which is Elliott Easterling's new startup that many of you have probably heard of. We also have an exciting conversation about Sizmek. We're going to pour one out for Sizmek. So let's just jump in with Adam. Adam, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I listen every week.
All right, good to hear.
Amazing.
So as disclosure, I think Aperium is an investor in Chalice. Is that right, Eric?
Confirmed.
So you're going to take it easy on him, or you're going to this is going to be like a board meeting. You're going to grill him.
Adam can take anything. I think we've seen his tweets and his LinkedIn posts.
Now I prefer to argue.
Exactly.
He actually does.
All right, let's turn the tables. Eric, why'd you invest in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we invested in Chalice. Adam, was it 2019?
It was 2020.
When did you do the seed?
2020.
2020. Yeah. Yeah. So it was before the big wave of AI, but Joe and I had sort of long had this thesis that one of the next big things would be applications of AI. So it was, had a thesis on the sector, had known Adam a little bit through his years of working in the space. So for us, it's like, we sort of take a thematic approach in sectors that we like. And then oftentimes, sort of not a rule. But if we know the team, and, feel great about the team, we'll invest super early just on that basis. So that was the reason.
Eric introduced us to most of the people who are still our angel investors. Maybe half of them came from Eric and Joe intros. So hugely valuable and appreciated.
That's great. So what is Chalice?
Chalice is custom algorithm software. So I had a 20-year agency career, mostly working for large advertisers. And I noticed they weren't really benefiting from the algorithms making decisions on their behalf, right? They're usually doing a lot of manual work to kind of steer against that autopilot.
Yep.
Because the pilot is driving to clicks and conversions, and they care about things like lifetime value and incremental sales. So I knew that it's better if you can have the algorithm driving for your actual outcome, right? Custom algorithms have always been part of programmatic. AppNexus was built with an endpoint for custom algorithms. Beeswax was built with a great endpoint for custom algorithms. And thank you, Ari. That was buoyed my spirits when that came out and helped convince me that there should actually be a company that makes using these endpoints easier. So we've been in market 3.5 years. We have scaled software. You can think of it as a data science accelerator. You can use any data you want. We don't mingle your data with other customers' data, and you can drive to any outcome you want. Extremely effective. We thrive mostly on same-store sales. We probably lose 4 out of 5 pitches. The only reason people don't adopt Chalice or software like it is cultural. It represents a different way of working. The person who might be sitting around making up bids has to stop making up bids.
Yeah.
Learn a lot about why the machine chooses the bids it chooses.
So, okay, a lot to unpack. It feels like you're kind of going against a trend. So all we hear about is PMAX and AI and automatic results. Is that accurate? You're going against that trend, or are you trying to reinforce that trend?
Well, I think what's different about Chalice, maybe unique, is that we foresaw that there would be more rebellion or scrutiny on the measurement, right? So the PMAX and most AI tools in advertising are very, very powerful. They're extremely predictive, but all they predict is clicks and correlated conversions. So it's like having an enormous gun pointed at yourself.
Well, hold on. What does that mean? Don't most customers want clicks and correlated conversions? You mean like view through, click through?
Correlated conversion just means that it preceded. Yeah, that there was a view that preceded a sale, and usually that you get credit if it's the last sale. So no, often that has, not only does that have nothing to do with a brand growth, but it could be opposite. So it's something I learned as the head of a trading desk at a big TV agency, is that those algorithms will learn to send digital exposures to people who saw the TV commercial, because that's what it's trying to do, like get an exposure and then a conversion. So they're predicting that these people will convert, and they will, but it's because they're influenced by TV. So the algorithm ends up driving less and less incrementality over time. Something I actually saw happen in the years 2016, 17, 18. And one thing that always in my head.
Yeah. So my immediate reaction, like if I was outside of our industry and you said you were building a custom algorithm on top of a platform like the Trade Desk or Beeswax or whomever, my immediate reaction would be, well, that platform has more data than you do. So how could you possibly be better at this when they have so much more scale? You're only working on behalf of one customer, not thousands.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And that's exactly the thinking that we need to turn around to really succeed, become as successful as I think we can be. So that thinking comes out of the mentality of a scaled software solution pre-cloud, which says if you scale a software solution, it has to do the same thing with the same data every time without human intervention to get the best possible result. And that's why everybody optimizes to clicks and conversions, and all the data that's used by those algorithms is the data in the platform. And it creates an arms race around data. As you said, whoever has the most data ends up having the most effective predictions of clicks and last touch conversions. So if you're Uber, and Uber's not my client, but I read their case study. If you're Uber and your business depends on driving incremental rides on the Uber app, all that scaled software is a disaster for you, because it's going to drive rides, but everyone has the Uber app. So it's going to take credit for all the rides that would have happened anyway. Actually want to drive incremental rides on the Uber app, you have to do what Uber did. They licensed Beeswax and they used bid models to actually model to incremental rides on the Uber app. And they drove incredible results, right? They had 800, this case study said 800% lift in driving incremental rides on the app. And then they found out the conditions where they could get incremental rides as the result of an ad. And it was sort of made sense. It was like a rainy night and someone who uses Uber two to three times a month, something like that. So an infrequent user, rainy night, show them an ad, you can drive an incremental ride. So awesome case study.
Right. It was a good case study. I forgot about it, but thanks for reminding me. I'm so far out of Beeswax at this point. But but is it all about just different attribution? Like, is that the fulcrum on which a custom algorithm achieves its goal? Is that you have better insight?
Data outside the platform. Yeah. Data that exists outside the platform, whether a ride is incremental, requires some input from Uber, right? There's often LTV will be in that model too. And Uber isn't going to send its whole CRM to Beeswax the way they can give access to it to Chalice, knowing that we won't share it or use it for anything but their project. And there's tons of data sets that live outside, right? In CPG, there's inventory data, what lives on the shelf. In awareness, there's data from the surveys. So having data outside the platform is something, as part of your flywheel effect, part of your algorithm, only became possible with cloud. And I think that cloud is bringing a new era of applications that are just much more flexible and configurable, and let engineers and data scientists like the Chalice team be much more creative about how they stack microservices and reuse code to do a whole bunch of different things for different customers and still scale.
So the second kind of skeptical view on the custom algorithm business would be, well, won't they eventually build it? So won't the DSP platforms, and we're really talking about DSPs, right? Will get better and better and better, and over time, like, it'll eclipse the need.
Yeah, well, I guess it's possible. I got to ask, Ari, is that why you didn't come in as one of our angels?
No, I didn't come in for the third reason I haven't gotten to yet.
I remember our emails on this. This is going to be fun.
A lot of the ad tech exiters are angel investors in Chalice. We're very proud of that. And I get tremendous mentorship, and it's a huge asset to be able to get advice, and that all these people believe. So Ari's an exception, and we'll talk about that.
Tables have turned. Like, no, being pilloried for not being an angel investor. All right. Anyway, so why won't the DSPs build it?
There it is. Well, it's very different. That's the first thing I'll say, is it's very different. We see the DSPs, they have the scaled software mentality, and they, even when they see us working, ask us to be more of the same every time, right? They say, like, this isn't our view of scalable. Like, we're plenty scalable. Like, there isn't human intervention once it's up and running, and the data is flowing, refreshing every 15 minutes. It's different than the way you do things. And it's a little less predictable for you, but this is a new way of doing scalable software. And I don't want to say they don't get it, but it's clear that there's a big cultural difference between the scaled software engineers of a DSP and custom algorithm software builders at Chalice.
Okay, I'll take that answer. Okay, now the third skeptical thing, this is the reason I didn't invest, is I'm skeptical, and I'll say it for the record, I'm still skeptical about whether you can create a big business as a custom algorithm, because ultimately the end client has to share their fees, has to allocate fees to both the DSP platform and to your service. And there's sort of a hesitancy. If you're paying the DSP 10%, why would I also pay you guys 10%, 15%?
Yeah, that's a great one. So we address that in our investor deck, which you didn't even sit for, by the way, but that's okay. Our COO, Ali Manning, made an amazing slide.
For companies I invest in, it's a fast yes.
All right. Maybe you'd seen this slide, but it tried to answer that question of where does the money come from? And in fact, custom algorithm can replace a lot of things, right? So what we showed is that people are going to pay less for audiences. Like 50% is a big tax for a static audience that's probably overstuffed, right? We can create audiences that are custom and dynamic, and we charge less than 15%. Then there's the monitoring. I don't want to disparage anyone, but they're taking a big cut for viewability monitoring and brand safety monitoring. That I believe will come down. And then there's that's just viewability and brand safety. Then there's carbon emissions and other kinds of quality monitoring. There's a whole bunch of tools that all could be built into a custom algorithm. We'd call it like a governance algorithm. Lets clients embed their values as the rules for the algorithm's decisions. And it seems to us there's already a lot of money being spent on sort of point solutions that we could replace.
Adam, have you ever quantified the human or sort of like people resources that normally go towards like manual optimization and measurement that you can then remove and put those people onto higher value things?
Yes. And people tend to not even believe us, but we have a true case study of saving a trading desk, I think 9 people.
Right.
All right. That to me is the answer, right? Because you just, you do the total comp of 9 people, you're over $1 million. And I don't know what the ACV is for that customer, but I would think it's
the conversation I've had with VCs many times over the years, or just people, analysts, is that why should people be involved at all? Like basically, it's AI, it's ML. Rocket Fuel did it. We'll talk about them later, but Rocket Fuel did it. So it should all be automatic. And I love what you said earlier about steering against the autopilot, because that's really, in my experience, what the best traffickers, the best clients at places like AppNexus and Beeswax ended up having to do. No one wanted it to be auto.
It's interesting. I don't know. I guess what I'll say is we've been steering with the autopilot for some of our clients for 2 years, some almost 3. So like Chalice really thrives off same store sales. Like the results get better and better. And when you're steering with the autopilot, there's a lot of work to do. And interpreting the results, tweaking the algorithm. Media is full of change. Setting up more tests, getting creative insights out of it, just trying to figure out what's going on in the market. I think a lot of VCs underrate how hard it is to influence people through advertising, right? This is what I'm passionate about. I'm an advertising guy. I've seen a lot of engineers, data scientists, and money guys, bankers come into my industry with a lot of arrogant beliefs about how easy it is to influence people. When you're actually doing it, we're actually driving incremental LTV for an insurer for 2+ years now. It's a ton of work to interpret results and set up tests and deal with the changes that come. And it's fascinating and worth human attention.
Yeah, I mean, even a signal like a click is not representative of what's really happening between people's ears when they see an ad. Advertising is literally working on the neuron level, and there's no way to measure that yet.
That's right. And we've been using these crude proxies, and I'm in the world now. I'm in the 4th year of getting past those crude proxies and modeling to the real signals of influence. And it's very different, very interesting. And It's great work that we encourage people to get
So did we learn anything from the Sybids exit?
into. Learn anything?
Yeah, I mean, is that encouraging, that sign?
Oh yeah, it changed my world completely because now it's a real category, right? That will probably be on the Lumascape, and it raised a lot of eyebrows. I got reach outs from every ad tech banker and got to go run my mouth about how brave we are and how we're not raising or selling. So that's been a lot of fun. Like it turns attention to us saying, oh, custom algorithms are for real. Now Chalice is the independent leader, so it's been a huge tailwind.
Should there be a bubble on the Lumascape for this? Because, from my understanding, there aren't too many other companies doing this that are independent companies.
Yeah. I don't see such a barrier between a generative AI company like Memorable and what we're doing. I think there's some technical difference, like whether the outcome is an ad or an audio.
It's the application.
Yeah, these are just different applications. So I think the box on the Lumascape is AI applications that make advertising better and more operationally efficient.
I mean, shouldn't agencies do this eventually?
Yeah. I've come from agencies, so I had the experience of seeing amazing tools built on the outside and brought into agencies. Two of my mentors and investors are Matt Greitzer and Art Muldoon, who have ran that path with Accordant into Dentsu. So I saw that happen close up. And I tell the team all the time when they deal with agencies, we might be working there.
All right. So let's talk platforms because you have probably more insight into the platform. So first thing is really remarkable, which is I believe you're the only company to ever get an investment from the trade desk. Is that accurate?
Yeah, at least
Maybe
publicly.
not the only, the first.
We were, we have the first and publicly the only.
Yeah, you're the first.
So why did they invest in you?
Yeah, they were, unlike you, they were swayed by my I wasn't friends with them, but I did have a relationship with the founders from being a big early customer. I built one of the first big agency trading desks around Trade Desk. So I was at like their early summits when the only agency guys were me and Jay from Goodway. And then we started seeing Omnicom and WPP show up, and we had a less influence in what they build. But from being there early, I had some rapport with Jeff and Dave. And like they built multidimensional bidding and the user scoring application. So I knew that they thought this way, right? Their whole pitch is around bid expressiveness. So Jeff had done a podcast where he talked, he's also a competition advocate, which I am passionate about competition. One thing he said is that competition should be around things like prediction, right? And not about who has the most logged in users, right? Or who has a massive user data. It should be around things like using AI. So I brought that up in the pitch, but I don't know. I wouldn't even have called him if Ali, my COO, who incidentally is also my wife, then nagged me for months during our seed round saying, you should call Jeff. You should call Jeff. You should call Jeff. Like, I've lost so much confidence since I already said no. I don't know if
this
I can.
This is a great lesson to anyone listening who I've said no to. You could come on the show and just abuse me. That's like if I invest in you, you have to be nice to me. But like, if I said no, just come on the show. All right, so let's go around the horn about the different platforms and their custom algorithm capabilities because you probably have more insight than anybody else. Right. So in my view, the four platforms that have custom algorithms in any real sense are Xandr, Beeswax, Trade Desk, and DV360. And
and Medium had one and will again.
It will rise like a phoenix. So you want to give us a hot take on each one? Like what's good, what's bad on Xandr first, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, none of them are bad, but they're different. And I would say, they all have strengths and weaknesses. And it's very interesting, right? Our software runs the same type of modeling most of the way. And then the last part of the pipeline, it translates the model into bid instructions for these different platforms. So AppNexus was the first build and is well built. It's Brian had a lot of foresight in how he built it or had it built.
No, it was past my time that they brought that out.
You weren't there. But anyway, it seems for something built a long time ago, it's certainly aged well. And it's a bonsai tree model, which is not the latest things in data science. So our data scientists say they have to moderate some of the most advanced things they do to fit that. But it has a lot of foresight into things that are really important in making these bid lists, which are like really long lists of instructions. Like it has wildcards and it has the ability to say anything that's not this,
right,
bid that. right? Like that stuff's really
Yeah,
important.
we used to sell against it at Beeswax. We just say bonsai tree over and over again, and people would say, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Okay, well, you want to do Beeswax next?
Beeswax is maybe overall the best. It's the least limited, which everyone loves. We did a 50 million line there. It might not be true anymore because like that actually costs the DSP, right? When you get 50 million lines to look through on every bid request.
I don't know. I don't know what they're
Is
up
that
to.
right?
I mean, they're doing really well, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I know they're doing well, but I was looking for confirmation that it costs
It
the
depends.
DSP.
Like
But
everything.
it's bad. Yeah, okay. But anyway, it's unlimited, so you could upload a huge model, and the combination of controlling the bids and the QPS is ultra powerful, right? If there's a filter on the QPS, no matter what model you put in, its ability is limited. So Beeswax, not only do you have QPS control, you could also put in a pacing model, have total control over the
Yeah,
pacing
that was
algorithm.
awesome. I love building that.
So
That was cool. All
yeah,
right.
totally.
Trade Desk.
Trade Desk is awesome, right? It's the most scaled software. It gives you the most service. There are clients in there using the capabilities all the time, which means they're a little better maintained, and you can find people who can answer really difficult questions about stuff that's not documented or that's incorrectly documented, as we found. So they have a big capability, and it has something really close to bid models called multidimensional bid lists, and uniquely it has user scoring. Which is a gold standard for finance. Like we tell finance clients, the way you have every household scored for direct mail with their LTV, how would you like to do that for every household in America on CTV? That's what we could do with a model into Trade
I think
Desk
both
user scoring.
Beeswax and AppNexus have user scoring, but it's just like a little awkward to use, whereas the Trade Desk made it really easy.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Yeah, you said I know more about it than anyone, but it's the Chalice data science team who knows the first.
All right, last one, DV360.
DV360 is not quite a custom algorithm capability. They call it custom bidding. And oddly enough, it's bidding that you don't control. Google still bids. The Google algorithm decides what to bid. You don't even get to enter a bid. You get to enter a max, but the Google algorithm bids. What you can do is customize on the value side. So you could give different values to every floodlight on the page, a whole set of floodlights. You could put value weights on geos and devices and times of day. It all goes in as a Python script. They're the only one that will let you upload a model through the UI, which is nifty. And you could use the API and upload a bigger model. They give you some visualizations or insights of how your model is doing. They're the only ones who do that. And it's the least buggy. Like it always works. The downside is you don't get control of the bid, so you don't get much cost savings. You don't get as much cost savings. It's most powerful to model the value side and the bid side. And the other thing is it's very sensitive. Like Google is bidding with a very advanced neural net algorithm, and looks to us like somebody's job it was to just make the algorithm X more predictive by using a more advanced neural net. And what you lose when you do that is the ability to change anything without the algorithm needing 2 weeks to learn. That sensitivity is a problem. Like in the media world, people do not like waiting 2 weeks for their algorithm to relearn and get back to performing after they change.
This is if in case anyone ever says the Marketecture podcast is not delivering value, we just got a masterclass in custom algorithms. All right, let's take a quick break and come back with the news of the week. This is a message from our sponsor. I'd like to introduce you to Publica by IAS, the award-winning CTV ad server trusted by some of the biggest streaming services and smart TV manufacturers globally. Publica helps a growing number of leading AVOD and FAST services to power their programmatic ad break decisioning via products including a unified auction, server-side ad insertion, and a demand-agnostic ad server built from the ground up around streaming. Head to getpublica.com to find out how they help CTV publishers to grow their advertising revenues and provide streaming audiences with linear-like TV ad break experiences. All right, we're back. So we're going to start on a sad subject, Sizmek. Let's have a moment of silence for everyone's favorite company, Sizmek. All right, we're back. So let's do a quiz. Let's see if I did some research this morning, made a list of every company that Sizmek had acquired or been acquired, every brand name they've gone under. Let's see if we can name them. Eric, you want to give us a start? We'll go around. Good one.
iBlaster.
MediaMind?
I have the list, so I'll just throw one in that you guys probably wouldn't remember. I Wonder.
I was going to be my next one.
Good one.
DG.
Adam.
Were they ever called Amazon?
Oh,
Ad
I
server?
didn't even think about that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what
that
the
doesn't
name-
count.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the obvious,
Rocket Fuel.
Rocket
All right.
Fuel.
Anyone else? There's another 4.
Did they
Unicast,
take
yes.
Unicast? I mean, that goes
the-
someplace else.
Unicast, the
Yeah.
innovator
My
in
God.
pre-cached giant ads that took over your screen.
It inspired me, man.
Did you ever get sued by them? They were like really litigious with their patents.
No.
Yeah.
All right, 3 more. There's one is a mobile DSP.
Oh, did they
No,
buy
that's Viant.
No, it's Viant.
Strike ad.
Strike
Eric,
ad?
You're pretty good at this.
Wow.
All right, there's 2 more. I'll just give you the Pure 39.
Of course.
And then this one I really didn't heard of was Aerify. You guys heard of Aerify? I don't remember.
Do you remember the time that Sizmek exposed every customer's data to everyone?
Oh, I don't remember that.
What?
I do.
Yeah, that was incredible. What a day. That was an incredible day in agency ad tech world. You could just go through everyone's ad server account.
Yeah, it's sort of an exercise to the
Wow.
reader or the listener to figure out how much equity value was destroyed in this process. It's easily in the I mean, if Rocket Fuel alone is in the billions. But basically, this company got bought, sold, disgorged. DG is the survivor. So DG got spun out into Extreme Reach. So that still exists. And Pure 39 got spun out to Mario Diaz and his merry crew. But otherwise, all of that went to nothing and is now shut down.
Hey, wait, bit more trivia. You know what was inside of Rocket Fuel, which then became
I
part
forgot
of this
about
whole thing, was X
All
plus
right,
one?
that's a good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Right, which is totally
that
different from
second
1 plus X. Absolutely different company, which is owned by.
Yeah. I'm a ton of fun at parties, as you can tell.
Yep. All right, so Adam, I want to talk about your Twitter persona because you're a little bit of maybe a bomb thrower on Twitter. Like you don't want to get on Adam's wrong side, as we've seen in this conversation. So let me start with the
really
easy
like
question:
the
do you love Google or do you hate Google?
Neither. I mean, it's a company, right? There's a lot of people there I like. I think the company is too powerful. And I get passionate about it because I'm passionate about advertising. And I think a lot of problems in advertising can be traced back to their conducts. Get frustrated that people don't see it. They say things, people say things that indicate that they don't know much about what's legal or or ethical in ad tech, or that they've given up and don't care. Sometimes I get fired up. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and I don't want to be seen as unkind or cruel. So with my intent, I'm sharp. I grew up arguing, in the 70s. It was my first. I learned to talk in a rough way.
All right, so I'm gonna some greatest hits. Here's some Adam greatest hits. I won't do a dramatic reading. This is from Twitter. When ad experts promote the narrative of a corrupt middleman in ad tech without mentioning header bidding or antitrust, they carry water for Google.
Yeah, I do think that's true. I think a lot of people unwittingly support Google's position. The best example of that is third party. Like if you think third party is demonized, right? That it's bad to be third party, that comes from Google. That's Google's PR strategy. Like they demonized the third party cookie, and then they said they're a first party when they're intermediating. They got that written into law, into GDPR, and it's ridiculous. And everyone should say that's ridiculous. When I'm reading the New York Times, Google is not a first party.
Here's a good one. It is a really good one. I like this one. I think the big misunderstanding is around what powers all the impressive algorithms. It's like being amazed at engines and not knowing about oil. That's gold. That's a good one.
Yeah, people talk about AI and algorithms without thinking about training data. Every conversation should start first with the outcome. What outcome is this supposed to drive? And then what is it trained on? Right? If you're not grounded in those things, you can't have a conversation about
All right,
AI
one more.
algorithms.
It's Google's domination of ad analytics, specifically their self-serving failure to distinguish correlations from causal ad effects that incentivizes publishers to create more instead of better ad placements.
Yeah, I don't remember any of these.
You're in a
These
fugue
are
state
things
when
that
you get in front of Twitter.
I fire them up really fast. So it's clickbait. Everyone is aware of clickbait. Everyone hates clickbait. But very few people say, why is it that publishers can only make money from driving more clicks? Why don't publishers make money from having a higher quality publication with more reach to readers who buy stuff? That's what advertisers care about. And the reason is Google's domination of measurement, right? They have an algorithm that doesn't care about quality, it doesn't care about things advertisers care about, and it pushes publishers to make crap sites. That's the only way to make
I don't know if you can blame Google for that. I mean, the last click, last impression have been around for 10 years before Google even entered the display market.
Well, then you must agree that it's a striking lack of innovation that 20-year-old technology is still dominant.
All right, enough about your tweets. I'm just glad someone's not focusing on my tweets. So let's go through some news. So I thought this was kind of interesting. Camelot was acquired by PMG. So Camelot has long been a very innovative, independent agency. The news reporting didn't really give a lot of rationale for it, but I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm not that familiar with PMG. Adam, are you familiar with these companies? Does have anything to add?
Yeah, a little bit. PMG, yeah, their agencies. Camelot kind of had a custom algorithm narrative for a while. They were talking about doing more advanced measurement. And PMG, based in Dallas, I got a friend there. I don't know. Yeah, small agency. I would just say there's a trend of small independent agencies making.
They also tend to be the
energy
most
there.
advanced with the use of tech, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the change will come.
Yeah, Camelot was
Camelot.
like Invite Media's first customer ever.
Yeah, for sure. I used to like fly down to Dallas. That was always a really good market generally. Spent a bunch of time with them, and they were always forward leaning, always like pushing vendors. My sense from reading a little bit about this is that they've been, really forward thinking and strong in CTV. So I think thesis around the deal here was really around their ability to help catalyze CTV and they have a lot of relationships with the key platforms and so on and so forth. So I think this is it's sort of great, for the team at Camelot, and then B, largely, sort of like another bet on the future being CTV.
I was just speaking yesterday at Programmatic Mechanics Summit. They're a sponsor of this episode, so I thought I'd call them out because they have introduced a new CTV DSP that's interesting because it's very simple. And that's kind of like what a lot of people want with CTV. All right, next. So the ongoing Google trial. I think the interesting news this week was Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who went into court and claimed that little old Microsoft has no power. They're totally defenseless. Everyone should worry about their being crowded out of the search business by Google. I don't have the exact quotes, but he said basically they have 3% market share in search. There's no way, he said there's no way for them to compete because of Google's virtuous cycle of getting more searches and therefore having better AI to make the searches better. He also said that if you think about it as software, search is the largest software sector. Much larger than Office, larger than operating systems. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And what about Locock? I mean, almost no one reported on that. I have no idea why, but this should be huge news in ad tech that the Joshua Locock, the chief media officer of IPG, went and testified and talked about how you can't really multi-home with SA360, right? Which has huge implications for the ad tech case, right? To see how the court reacts to this news that you have to use Google's tool, and Google's tool doesn't do a very good job of bidding in Microsoft search. I think Joshua, right. No one covered this. This is huge.
Is SA360 part of
Joshua?
But is SA360 a focus of the case? I thought the case was all about distribution.
It's a piece of it, yeah. That you can't. There's barriers to multi-homing in a tool that you must use.
So
Joshua should be hailed as a hero. Like I testified to the Senate. It was very easy. The questioning was very friendly. Joshua went down there and stood up to cross-examination for real. Like it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of courage. I think he was mostly alone down there as far as buy-side agency leaders. And I just want to commend him and call it out.
Interesting. So we'll continue watching that case as it evolves. So Jeremy Gordon is out at Netflix. So Jeremy was the spearheading the advertising. So Ad Age reported that she is out. Jeremy is a female name. I don't know her personally. Mike Shields, who's a contributor to Marketecture, in his newsletter, I think summed it up, so I'll read what he said. She's being replaced by Amy Reinhart, who had previously been Netflix's VP of Studio Operations, and that was after helping to oversee content acquisition. So clearly this is not an ad person, meaning the person is replacing Jeremy. It's interesting. I think that it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really surprising that Netflix building a whole new ad business from scratch might be difficult. and might not immediately pay off some of the dividends that might have been expected by Wall Street or the CEO. This seems like it's this seems like it's meaningful news, I guess I would say.
Yeah, well, we were not going to find out what happened for a while, if ever. It's a somewhat secretive company. They were among the first to use custom algorithms along with Uber. There was no case study, but I was able to find some stuff out. Like they've set up some very productive learning loops between, what shows help people acquire and using that for making certain shows and choosing what to promote in certain regions. So I think it's just an amazing company, and I don't know why would have trouble doing the sell side thing, but companies
Yeah,
lose
they
their way
certainly
when they
have the
get
data
huge.
science.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got a giant data science team. I think that your instinct that this, feels significant is right. But also, again, like the Atlas point, it's such a, like secretive company. And, insiders that have sort of like grown up there and know how to navigate could be better suited to, helping to, drive a new biz, drive change. But they also set the expectation in one of their last earning calls that, the expectation for this year is that revenue is de minimis, and they're experimenting with different pricing tiers, and they're going to be rolling this stuff out slowly. So I think they're giving whoever's a leader the headroom. I'd love to just, like talk to somebody there and understand like why they don't go for a buy strategy. Like, they just, they could buy any company on the Lumascape, right? And, rocket themselves into like a really interesting position from a buy side perspective, or even a sell side perspective, right? Depending on how you think about that. And,
Well,
is that even a possibility? Because Netflix
yeah,
is
they're
not
not
very acquisitive
and
as a
also I think
business.
that the piece they would want would be a publisher side ad server yield manager, and there aren't any available for sale. Like the publisher side yield managers have all been acquired. Our sponsor, Publica, SpringServe, Freewheel's too big and part of Comcast. Amagi is too big, is a big Indian server side company. There's really nobody out there to buy. So yeah, but I think they obviously are looking at how to accelerate. All right. So Eric, you wanted to talk
Yeah.
about Facebook's generative AI tools.
Yeah. So they've launched like a whole bunch of tools this week for generative AI. So I'll rattle them off. It's just, I think this is super interesting in that, Meta, Facebook Meta, whatever you want to call them, they've got their foot on the gas when it comes to this stuff. So background creation. So create multiple backgrounds to complement the advertiser's product image. This is all using generative AI. Image expansion. So like have something expand to fit into a news feed or reel or Instagram post. So, taking the sort of like fit and creation part out of the editing, text variation, productivity boosts. Like, people are saying that this can save advertisers and agencies up to 50% of time. Like this is big stuff. Just given the amount of spend that goes to Meta across the various properties. So I think it's a neat use case of all that is being done with generative AI. And I think it's interesting, to Adam's point earlier, that, these are all applications of AI, but it's starting with creative, which again, I think is like the lowest hanging fruit with respect to efficiencies to be gained from a people perspective. And, ultimately, like if you move the needle on performance on creative, you can have some like really big impact because it's such low hanging fruit and everybody forgets it, to the expense
Right.
of things like targeting algorithms and optimization algorithms, i.e., 95% of the time we spend here. So neat stuff, worth checking out.
It's also the best way for a network to compete with the open web is creatives, right? Like they can innovate much faster, find interesting ad units, exciting ad units, new ways to grab attention and to speed up the productivity of their customers. It's amazing, in open web programmatic, we have to wait
Yeah.
for the IAB to approve it at a new format, and then everyone has it. So it's really a natural advantage on the network side, and it shows Facebook's competitive prowess.
Yeah, in a
That's
closed
where they're
environment
thriving.
with standardized ad units, it's kind of the perfect environment for using AI. And it reminds me of Marpipe, which is a company that I did invest in, and so does Eric, that does this sort of thing. The
Yeah.
last news article I saw that I thought was interesting was a Financial Times article about Twitter X. And the crux of this article is that one of the factors that's really hurting their revenue, and we've heard so much about the revenue decline, is that Twitter's ad business had a very large investment in what they called Amplify, which is where Twitter sold ads as pre-roll on content from TV networks. So this sometimes you'll see on Twitter, it won't be an ad, it'll be like in the search tab, there'll be like a clip from the previous night's football game or basketball game, and you click on it and there's a pre-roll ad on that. And that's a very valuable spot, needless to say. Apparently it was generating more than $1 billion in advertising revenue, and the problem is that Musk, when he came in, fired the partnerships team. Punchline. Hard to do partnerships without a partnerships team. But meanwhile, Musk is saying, and I've heard from various sources, that they're going to double down on sports, which kind of raises a couple of eyebrows here and there. I don't know if either of you guys have a thought about this. It just kind of sounds like a dumpster fire.
I went to the search page to see it right now in Twitter, and I'm getting this ad for the Exorcist movie.
Yeah, that looks like a scary movie.
It's very scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not down
In
for that. I'm
theaters
going to
tonight.
see Taylor Swift and IMAX. I'm not doing that Exorcist stuff.
Think not gonna do it.
All right, I think we've covered all the bases. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Adam, this was a great conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And come on in. We got a safe for you.
All right, so please stay tuned for Justify Your Existence with BonBon. It's another company I actually did invest in, and it should be interesting. So thanks, Eric.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome to Marketecture's Justify Your Existence, where we ask early-stage ad tech and martech startups to tell us why we should care about what they're building. Today, we have Elliott Easterling from BonBon. Elliott, thanks for being here.
Thanks. All right.
Quick disclosure, I am an investor in BonBon, but that doesn't mean I'll take it easy on you. All right. To start with, tell us about the state of the company, where you're based, number of employees, and funding to date.
Yeah, so we're based in LA and Chicago. We have under 10 employees, raised $1 million, and we just opened the round back up. So
awesome. So investors out there, contact Elliott if you like what you're about to hear. All right, Justify Your Existence. What is BonBon?
Yeah, well, BonBon basically is a rewards layer for programmatic publishers. And what we find is that the 1% of publishers who have subscriptions have a really sophisticated access to vendors and a sophisticated stack. But the majority of publishers out there really struggle to build engagement and also to build registrations with their consumers.
Okay, so you sell to publishers and you give them tools to capture registrations, emails, logins, things like that.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem that we see is that, first and foremost, these publishers they're basically subject a lot more to things like cookie deprecation. So when a publisher can't set an ID, they lose about 2/3 of their revenue. So first and foremost, they're really suffering from around addressability. And number two, they're also seeing, big tech also siphon off engagement. So really what we're trying to do is give them tool sets to do two things. Number one is those two levers for any publishers. Number one is increase more inventory. So building engagement so more inventory is created. And number two is increasing RPMs through registration. So that's essentially what we're doing, is helping build engagement and build registration.
All right. So this folds right into some publishers' desires to participate in like UID2 and get emails so that they can increase their CPMs.
Yeah, exactly. So on the registration side, how do we increase RPM is that, we know that when users both on Chrome or Safari are logged in on a website, the publisher can make significantly more money using those new ID formats.
Right. So how do you do it? What are these tools that help the publishers?
Yeah, so you can sort of think of us as we build modals that are tag-based that can help put the right offer in front of the right consumer at the right time. There's two things we're just trying to get people to do. First is read more organically, and number two is register. And those things are done through a system of rewards that we provide.
Like what kind of rewards?
Yeah, so there's a range of things. We've done everything from helping raise money for the publisher, like donate to the publisher, as well as earn towards things like gift cards, also things like winning prizes and earning towards prizes as well, getting chances to win prizes, those sorts of things.
Okay, so I show up on a publisher website and the publisher can show me a modal when they choose. I assume it's up to them, and it could say like, "Hey, sign up for our newsletter and donate $10 to the Red Cross" or something like that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. We're sort of really optimizing for two different user journeys. The first journey is like getting consumers to spend more time on a site and explore more so they can earn rewards for reading. and exploring more websites. We make it really easy for people to explore and read more, as well as come back more. What we're finding is that we're able to increase, engagement by 7%. People are reading 7% more, and they're 100% more likely to come back within 5 days. And then secondly, we're also kind of creating an incentive layer for people to register, saying, a lot of people don't come to a website to register. And we think that part of the reason why consumers are not registering is because there's no value. There's no rewards for consumers. And so we basically introduced the notion that, hey, if you register, you can get a chance to earn something that's of value for you. And fundamentally, we call the business BonBon because BonBons are small bite-sized rewards. We didn't call the company Make Money Off Your Data because we don't think consumers want to make money off their data, but they are incentivized by rewards. The single most successful program rewards is miles, and everyone from the rich and the poor like to earn miles. And so we're really trying to reproduce that for programmatic publishers.
Can I get miles? I mean, if I could get miles for going to these websites, I might do it.
Well, Ari, just give us a chance to keep making progress on the product roadmap.
Okay, got it. Can you name any customers?
Yeah, we're live on sites like Ranker, a couple other websites like All Women's Talk, sohh.com, et cetera, et cetera. So we're live on 11 publishers.
And how does the business model work?
Pretty simply, we basically, in 7 minutes, we can give a publisher all the technology they need to log in and out users and reward users through our tag-based system. We essentially are giving publishers right now through our beta tests and free trials to test the technology out. And thereafter, it's essentially a SaaS fee.
A SaaS fee based on volume of users or something like that?
Yeah, based on records under management. So RUM is essentially the way we're operating right now.
Awesome. Well, I think you did a pretty good job justifying your existence. Who should call you if they're listening to this? Publishers?
So any publisher who's not in the ComScore 50 should call us.
You wouldn't take a ComScore 50 if they called?
Well, we love them, but they tend to be a little bit, they take their time to make decisions justifiably. They have a lot more to lose than gain with any new tech vendor. So we're talking to them. All publishers will be our customers eventually, but we know that it's more like mid-tail programmatic publishers who have the most pain right now and are the most excited to take meetings with us.
Oh, one last question. I forgot to ask this in my last 3 interviews. Oh, if your company was an animal, what animal would it be?
Wow, that's a really good question. Probably like a dolphin, making everything easy and smooth and yet excelling at what we do. So.
Love that. All right, Elliott, thanks for being here.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Take care.